Welcome to our Business English podcast. Today, we're diving into workplace ethics, a topic that affects every organization. Julia, as an HR manager, how would you define workplace ethics in everyday business life?
Thank you. Workplace ethics involves understanding and practicing principles like honesty, fairness, and respect in our daily actions. It means employees must act responsibly, follow company policies, and create a positive environment for everyone.
That makes sense. Many listeners wonder, why do companies emphasize ethics so much in their policies and training sessions?
Great question. Ethical behavior helps build trust among employees, reduces conflicts, and protects the company's reputation. For example, if someone breaches confidentiality, it can harm both individuals and the business.
Let's transition to company rules. Most organizations require staff to follow a code of conduct. Ben, from your perspective as a team leader, why is having a clear code of conduct essential?
A code of conduct outlines what employees must and must not do. It acts like a roadmap, reducing ambiguity. For instance, it clarifies that employees ought to report harassment, ensuring everyone knows their responsibilities.
So, these guidelines aren't just formalities, they serve a real purpose. Could you give an example where following the code prevented a bigger problem?
Certainly. In one case, clear rules about data privacy meant an employee should not share client information, which prevented a potential legal issue. These policies protect both the company and its people.
Let's focus on language. We often use modal verbs like must, should, and ought to when discussing ethics. Julia, how do these help us communicate rules and advice in the workplace?
Using must signals strong obligation like employees must respect confidentiality. Should is softer, suggesting advice. You should report suspicious activity. Ought to is similar, adding a sense of moral duty. These distinctions matter in business English.
Could you highlight a situation where choosing the right modal verb changes the message's impact?
Absolutely. Saying, you must attend the ethics training is a requirement, while you should attend is a recommendation. Selecting the right word ensures clarity and avoids misunderstandings.
Moving on, fairness is central to workplace ethics. Ben, in your experience, how do we ensure everyone is treated fairly and without discrimination?
We must apply policies consistently. For example, promotions ought to be based on merit, not favoritism. Studies show that diverse, fair workplaces are 35% more likely to outperform competitors. Ensuring equal opportunities is both ethical and strategic.
That's compelling. What steps can managers take if they notice unfair practices?
Managers should document incidents and consult HR. They must act quickly and discreetly, as ignoring issues can damage trust. Training helps teams recognize and address bias before it escalates.
Confidentiality is another pillar of ethics. Julia, why is protecting sensitive information so critical in business?
Confidentiality builds trust with clients and colleagues. Employees must not share personal or financial data without permission. A single breach like emailing client data to the wrong recipient can result in legal action and reputational harm.
Could you suggest best practices for maintaining confidentiality in daily work routines?
Certainly. Staff should lock screens, use strong passwords, and avoid discussing sensitive topics in public. Policies state that documents ought to be stored securely, and access should be limited to authorized personnel only.
Let's address dishonesty. Ben, what are the consequences when employees act unethically, such as lying or committing fraud?
Dishonesty erodes team morale and can lead to disciplinary action, including termination. For instance, if someone falsifies expense reports, they must face an investigation. According to a 2022 survey, 42% of companies experience losses due to internal fraud.
What can organizations do to prevent such misconduct from occurring in the first place?
They should foster a culture of transparency and accountability. Regular training and clear reporting channels mean employees ought to feel safe raising concerns. Prevention is always better than reaction.
Now, let's talk about whistleblowing. Julia, what exactly does it mean, and how should employees approach this difficult decision?
Whistleblowing means reporting unethical or illegal acts within the company. Employees must weigh the risks, but they ought to speak up if serious harm could result. Many companies now have anonymous hotlines to protect whistleblowers.
Are there protections in place for those who decide to report?
Yes, laws in many countries, like the US Whistleblower Protection Act, shield employees from retaliation. Organizations should make it clear that retaliation will not be tolerated and must act swiftly if it occurs.
Ethical leadership seems crucial. Ben, how can leaders set the right example for their teams?
Leaders must model integrity in every action. If a manager admits mistakes and treats everyone fairly, the team is more likely to follow suit. Research from Harvard shows ethical leadership boosts employee engagement and reduces misconduct by 23%.
What practical habits can leaders adopt to reinforce ethical standards?
They ought to communicate openly, recognize ethical behavior, and provide clear guidance. Even small gestures like always crediting others' work can foster a culture of trust and accountability.
Let's illustrate with a mini role play. Imagine an employee suspects a colleague of misusing company resources. Julia, as HR, how would you advise them?
I'd say, you should document any evidence and avoid direct confrontation. You must report your concerns to HR privately. We'll investigate in line with our policies. It's vital to handle such cases with sensitivity and discretion.
And Ben, as a team lead, what would you add?
I'd reassure the employee, you ought to focus on facts, not rumors. It's our responsibility to ensure fairness for everyone involved. Encouraging openness helps resolve issues while protecting relationships.
Before we wrap up, let's offer listeners a challenge. How can they practice ethical English in real business conversations?
Listeners should write a paragraph about an ethical dilemma using must, should, and ought to. For example, managers must act transparently. Employees should report concerns. We ought to respect everyone's privacy.
That's a solid exercise. Any tips for role-playing or reflecting on workplace values?
Absolutely. Try role-playing a discussion about an ethical concern with a peer and set 3 rules for ethical behavior in your office. Practicing polite, clear language will build both your confidence and your integrity.
Julia, as we conclude, why is speaking about ethics in clear, confident English so important for professionals today?
Ethical communication prevents misunderstandings and sets a standard for the whole team. It shows respect for rules, responsibilities, and colleagues. Ultimately, we must remember, integrity is the foundation of lasting success.
Well said. Thank you, Ben and Julia, for your insights, and thank you to our listeners for joining us. Remember, ethical language and actions go hand in hand. Let's all strive for workplaces where everyone feels respected and valued.
Thank you for having us. We hope today's discussion empowers you to navigate workplace ethics with confidence and clarity. Until next time.